My name is Emily, and I've been a nurse at the city clinic for 5 years. I love my job even though it can be stressful. One Tuesday, like any other, I was busy at the front desk, handling patient check-ins. That's when I first saw John. John looked to be in his early 30s, with a kind face and a gentle demeanor. He was helping his elderly father, who seemed frail and needed support just to walk. John's eyes scanned the room, looking a bit lost, so I decided to step in and help. "Hi there," I said, trying to sound cheerful. "Can I help you find something?" John looked relieved. "Yes, please. We're trying to find the cardiology department. My dad has an appointment, but we're not sure where to go." I smiled and said, "You're in luck. I can take you there. Follow me." As we walked through the halls of the clinic, I tried to make small talk. "So, you're here for your dad's heart checkup?" John nodded, gently guiding his father along. "Yeah, he's been having some chest pains lately, and the doctor recommended a full checkup. It's been a bit stressful for us. By the way, I'm John, and this is my dad, Peter." "It's nice to meet you both. I'm Emily," I replied, holding out my hand. John shook it warmly, and I noticed his grip was firm but gentle. "Here's my number, just in case you need any more assistance while you're here." John took the note with my number and tucked it into his pocket. "I really appreciate it. We're new to this clinic, so it's a bit overwhelming." Later that evening, as I was finishing up my shift, my phone buzzed. It was a message from John. "Hey, Emily, it's John. Just wanted to say thanks again for your help today. My dad's appointment went well. Would you like to grab a coffee sometime?" I felt a flutter of excitement. John seemed like a genuinely nice guy, and I was curious to know more about him. I texted back, "Hi, John. I'm glad to hear your dad's appointment went well. I'd love to grab a coffee. How about this Saturday?" Saturday arrived, and I found myself at the little cafe, feeling a bit nervous but excited. John walked in, spotted me, and waved. He looked more relaxed than at the clinic, and his smile was warm and genuine. We ordered our coffees and started chatting. John told me about his family's laundry business and how he'd been running it for years. "It's a small place, but we've built up a loyal customer base over the years," he explained. I smiled, thinking back to my early days. I've always wanted to help people. Nursing seemed like the best way to do that. It's challenging, but I love it. As we talked, I found myself more and more drawn to John's kind nature and his dedication to his family. He had a warmth and sincerity that was refreshing, and by the time we finished our coffees, I knew I wanted to see him again. We had been dating for about a year, and I was happier than I had ever been. John was sweet, thoughtful, and always made me feel special. One sunny afternoon, we were having a picnic in the park, enjoying sandwiches and talking about our future. John suddenly got a bit quiet and fidgety. "Emily, there's something I want to ask you," he said, his voice slightly shaky. I looked at him, a bit surprised. "Sure, John. What is it?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, opening it to reveal a beautiful ring. "Emily, will you marry me?" he asked, his eyes full of hope and love. I was stunned for a moment, but then a huge smile spread across my face. "Yes, John. Of course, I will," I exclaimed, tears of joy filling my eyes. A few weeks later, after we had told our families about the engagement, we visited John's parents, Carol and Peter, to discuss our future plans. Carol, a stern woman with a strong personality, was not someone I had really clicked with. She was always very opinionated and had a way of making me feel a bit uncomfortable. "So, when are you moving in with us?" Carol asked bluntly as we sat in their living room. I glanced at John, who looked a bit uncomfortable. "Actually, we were thinking of finding a place closer to my work," I said, trying to sound diplomatic. Carol's eyebrows shot up. "And why would you do that?" "We have plenty of space here, and it makes more sense for John to be close to the laundry." I took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. I understand, Carol, but the clinic is quite far from here. It would be a long commute for me every day. Carol didn't seem convinced. Well, I still think it would be better for you to be here. You could help out with the laundry, too. It's a family business, after all. John finally spoke up. Mom, we've decided to find our own place. It's important for Emily to be close to her work. Carol frowned, clearly displeased. Fine, but don't expect me to approve of this decision. I think you're making a mistake. We eventually found a small, cozy apartment close to the clinic and started our new life together. It wasn't always easy, but we were happy. Life with John had been smooth sailing for a while. We were enjoying our little apartment and settling into married life. John was still working at his family's laundry, and I was busy with my shifts at the clinic. Everything seemed to be going well until we got some bad news. One evening, John got a call from his mother, Carol. I could see the worry on his face as he listened to her. What's wrong, John? I asked as soon as he hung up. It's Dad. He's had a heart attack, John said, his voice trembling. We need to go to the hospital right now. We rushed to the hospital, and when we arrived, Carol was already there, looking distraught. She rushed over to us as soon as she saw us. John, it's bad. The doctors are doing everything they can, but they're not sure if he's going to make it, Carol said, her voice shaking. John hugged her, trying to offer some comfort. We're here now, Mom. We'll get through this. I stayed with them, offering whatever support I could. The hours seemed to drag on, and the waiting was unbearable. Finally, a doctor came out to speak with us. I'm sorry, the doctor said, looking at us with sympathy. Peter didn't make it. We did everything we could. Carol broke down in tears, and John's face went pale. I felt a lump in my throat, trying to hold back my own tears. I hugged John, trying to be strong for him. The days following Peter's death were a blur. We were busy with funeral arrangements and dealing with Carol's grief. She seemed lost without her husband, and I could see the toll it was taking on her. One evening, a few weeks after the funeral, Carol called John again, sounding even more upset than usual. John, I'm not feeling well. I think I'm getting sick, Carol said, her voice weak. We'll come over, Mom. Hang tight, John replied, worry etched on his face. We went to Carol's house, and it was clear she wasn't well. She looked pale and weak, and I could see the worry in John's eyes. Mom, you need to see a doctor, John said firmly. I'll be fine, John. I just need some rest, Carol insisted. Carol finally agreed, and we took her to the clinic where I worked. The doctor confirmed that she was indeed ill and needed proper care and rest. John was deeply concerned and didn't want to leave her alone. Emily, we need to move in with Mom, John said one night as we were preparing for bed. She needs our help. We packed up our things and moved into Carol's house. I tried to make the best of it, taking care of her and doing the housework while still working full-time at the clinic. The commute was long and exhausting, but I knew it was important to be there for John and his mother. Carol, however, was never easy to please. She often complained about the way I cleaned or cooked, making snide remarks about how things were better when she did them herself. Why don't you just quit your job and help more around the house? Carol suggested one day, her tone more commanding than concerned. I can't quit my job, Carol. We need the income, and I worked hard to become a nurse, I explained, trying to be patient. Despite the tension, I continued to care for Carol and manage the household. I was exhausted from the long hours at the clinic and the demands at home, but I tried to stay strong for John's sake. Living with his mother, Carol, was a challenge, to say the least. I was running myself ragged trying to balance my job at the clinic, taking care of Carol, and managing the house. Something had to give. One evening, after a particularly tough day at the clinic, I got home to find Carol complaining about the state of the house. Emily, this place is a mess. Can't you see the dust on these shelves? Carol barked as I walked through the door. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. Carol, I just got back from a long shift. I'll clean it up after I've had a chance to rest. John, who had just come home from the laundry, looked between us, sensing the tension. Emily, Mom's right. We need to keep the house clean, he said, not looking at me. Frustrated, I turned to John. I'm doing the best I can, John. I can't be in two places at once. John sighed, looking tired. I know, Emily, but something needs to change. We can't keep going like this. I agree, I said, feeling my exhaustion turn into resolve. I'll cut back my hours at the clinic. I can work part-time there and help more at the laundry. Will that make everyone happy? Carol's face lit up a bit. That sounds more reasonable. You should be here helping with the family business. I looked at John, waiting for his response. That might work, Emily. It would take some pressure off Mom and give you more time at home. Fine, I said, feeling a mix of relief and frustration. I'll talk to my boss tomorrow and arrange for part-time hours. The next day, I spoke with my supervisor at the clinic. I explained the situation at home and requested a reduction in hours. Thankfully, my boss was understanding and agreed to let me work part-time. Back at home, I started spending half my day at the clinic and the other half at the laundry. It was tough adjusting to the new routine, but I was determined to make it work. I spent my mornings at the clinic, then headed to the laundry in the afternoons to help out. One afternoon, while folding clothes in the back of the laundry, John came over, looking concerned. Emily, we need to talk about your pay, he said, sounding hesitant. What about it? I asked, feeling a knot form in my stomach. I was thinking we don't need to complicate things with taxes and payroll. Instead of a salary, you'll have access to the family account for whatever you need, John said, avoiding my eyes. I felt a surge of frustration, but tried to stay calm. So, you're saying I'll work for free and just use the family account? John nodded. It's simpler that way, Emily. Less paperwork and hassle. I bit my lip, trying to hold back my anger. Fine, John. But I want it clear that I'm contributing a lot to this family, and I expect some respect for it. A year later, I started to get a good grasp of the laundry business. I noticed a lot of room for improvement, and I thought of several ideas that could boost our customer numbers, increase income, and cut down on complaints. One evening, after a long day, I decided to bring up my suggestions with John and Carol. We were all in the kitchen, and I took a deep breath before speaking. John, Carol, I've got some ideas to help the laundry, I began, trying to sound confident. We could install video cameras to prevent theft, offer online booking, and give discounts to regular customers. Also, there's a vacant room next to the laundry. We could rent it and expand the business. John immediately looked annoyed. Emily, why do you keep sticking your nose into things you don't understand? I've been in this business since I was a kid. I know what I'm doing. Carol smirked and added, your ideas are ridiculous, Emily. We don't need cameras or online booking. You're just trying to mess things up with your silly suggestions. I felt a surge of frustration but tried to stay calm. I'm only trying to help. We need to keep up with the times if we want to stay competitive. John shook his head, his voice rising. Just stick to your job and let me handle the laundry. We don't need your so-called improvements. Feeling defeated, I decided to drop the subject. Fine, do what you want. But don't be surprised if things get worse. As the weeks went by, I kept doing my work at the clinic and the laundry, but I couldn't help but notice the business wasn't doing well. Customers were complaining more, and the profits were dropping. I tried to bring it up again a few times, but John and Carol shut me down every time. One afternoon, while I was folding clothes, I overheard a customer complaining to John about a missing shirt. This is the third time something's gone missing. What are you people doing? The customer snapped. John tried to calm the customer down. I'm really sorry about that. We'll look into it and make sure it doesn't happen again. The customer left, still grumbling, and I saw my chance to bring up another idea. "John, we should install security cameras. It would help prevent theft and give customers peace of mind." John looked at me, clearly annoyed. "Emily, enough with the cameras. We don't need them. Just focus on your work." I bit my tongue, feeling more and more like my efforts were pointless. Carol wasn't any better. She kept making snide remarks about my cleaning and cooking, and John seemed to echo her complaints without question. "Emily, why can't you just do things right for once?" John would say, parroting Carol's criticisms. It was disheartening, to say the least. I was putting in all this effort, trying to help and make things better, but all I got in return was criticism and dismissal. I started to wonder why I was even bothering. The laundry's profits kept dropping, and our relationship was getting worse. My birthday was coming up, and I decided to take some time for myself. I left a note for John in the morning, letting him know I'd be out for a few hours. I wanted to treat myself to a new dress and maybe get my hair done. It had been ages since I did something just for me. I spent the morning shopping and even visited a beauty salon. By the time I got home, I was feeling good, looking forward to a nice birthday evening. But as soon as I walked through the door, I knew something was wrong. John and Carol were both waiting in the living room, and they didn't look happy. "Where the hell have you been?" John snapped before I could even put my bags down. "It's my birthday, John. I went out to get myself something nice," I replied, trying to stay calm. "Your birthday? And you think that's an excuse to leave the laundry unattended? And what about breakfast? You didn't even make us breakfast." Carol shot back, her voice full of contempt. I was stunned. I left a note, "Carol. And it's my birthday. Can't I have a few hours to myself?" Carol sneered. "We don't care about your birthday. You're part of this family, and you have responsibilities. You're just lazy and selfish." I looked at John, hoping he'd back me up, but he just stood there, nodding along with his mother. "Mom's right, Emily. You can't just run off and ignore your duties. We don't need someone who can't even manage basic tasks." That was the last straw. I felt something snap inside me. I've had enough of this. I'm done being treated like a doormat. I want a divorce. Carol clapped her hands, a twisted smile on her face. "Finally, we're getting rid of her. Good riddance." John looked shocked at that moment, and his mother suddenly started up. "You can't just walk out on us. You owe us for 2 years of living here." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, you? You owe me for 2 years of unpaid work, plus compensation for all the vacation and sick days I never got. If anyone's owed anything, it's me." Carol's face fell, and she was silent for the first time. John looked like he didn't know what to say. I didn't wait for a response. I went straight to our room, packed my things, and walked out the door. I found a small apartment nearby and moved in that same day. The first few days were hard. I felt like I'd lost everything, but as the days went by, I started to feel a sense of relief. For the first time in a long time, I was free from the constant negativity. The desire to open my own business did not leave me. I took a good look at my savings and decided to use it to rent the vacant room next to John's laundry, the very space I suggested when I was still part of their family. I wanted to show them that I could succeed without their constant negativity. I got to work immediately, repairing the room and buying the best equipment and supplies. It wasn't easy, and I was running on pure determination. Every time I felt like giving up, I thought about Carol's sneer and John's dismissive tone, and it fueled my drive. The opening day of my new laundry, Emily's Clean Sweep, was a quiet affair. Not many people showed up. Most customers still went to John's laundry out of habit. I felt a pang of disappointment but reminded myself that this was just the beginning. I decided to make my laundry a 24-hour operation, something John's place didn't offer. I installed video surveillance to ensure the safety of my customers' belongings and lowered the prices on detergents, choosing the best professional brands. I added a small coffee machine, a kids area, and a few slot machines to make the place more welcoming. At first, business was slow, but I didn't let it get to me. I knew that building a good reputation would take time. I encouraged customers to leave reviews online, and soon, positive feedback started trickling in. People appreciated the clean, safe environment and my friendly service. Slowly but surely, more people started coming in. The reviews kept getting better, and before long, my laundry was bustling with customers. I couldn't believe it, I was actually pulling it off. I kept improving the place, adding little touches to make it more convenient and comfortable. The coffee machine was a hit, and the kids area kept parents happy. The slot machines added a bit of fun, and customers loved the fact that they could drop off their laundry anytime, day or night. A few days later, I noticed that John's laundry was looking less busy. It seemed that my success was starting to affect his business. I felt a twinge of guilt but quickly brushed it off. This was my victory, and I had earned it. One busy afternoon, while I was helping a customer, I saw John and Carol walk into my shop. They looked furious, and I knew this wasn't going to be a friendly visit. I braced myself and walked over to greet them. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. John glared at me. "You've stolen our customers, Emily. This is ridiculous. You had no right to open a laundry next to ours." Carol chimed in, her voice dripping with contempt. "You're ruining our business, Emily. This is all your fault." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I didn't steal anything. People come here because they like the service and the prices. It's called competition, John." John's face turned red with anger. "You did this on purpose to get back at us. You're trying to destroy our family business." I shook my head. "I started this business to prove that I could succeed on my own. If your business is struggling, that's on you, not me." Carol stepped forward, pointing a finger at me. "You think you're so smart, don't you? With your fancy ideas and low prices. You're nothing but a traitor." I felt my own anger rising. "A traitor? I tried to help you improve your business, but you both shut me down every time. Now you're mad because I made it work on my own?" John clenched his fists. "We want you to close this place down, Emily. You're hurting our livelihood." I crossed my arms, standing my ground. "I'm not closing anything. If you want to keep your business, maybe you should start listening to your customers and make some changes." Just then, a customer approached, looking confused by the argument. "Is everything okay here, Emily?" I smiled at the customer, trying to keep things calm. "Everything's fine, just a little disagreement. How can I help you?" The customer nodded and handed me a receipt. "I just wanted to say, I love this place. The service is fantastic." As the customer walked away, John and Carol looked even more furious. I turned back to them, feeling a surge of confidence. "You see? People appreciate good service and fair prices. If you want to keep your customers, you need to step up your game." John looked like he was about to explode. "This isn't over, Emily. We'll find a way to get our customers back." I shrugged. "Good luck with that. I'm not going anywhere." Then, pulling out my phone, I added, "By the way, have you seen your online reviews lately? Here, take a look." I showed them my screen, filled with negative comments about their laundry, complaints about lost items, rude service, and poor quality. John and Carol's faces turned pale. Carol stammered, This can't be right." "Oh, it's right," I said, feeling a sense of grim satisfaction. "People talk, and they're not happy with how you run things. Maybe you should have listened to my ideas when you had the chance." Without another word, Carol grabbed John's arm, and they hurried out of my shop, looking defeated. A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that their laundry had gone bankrupt. They couldn't keep up with the competition from Emily's clean sweep. One day, John came back to my shop, looking desperate. "Emily, I need a job. Can you take me on here? He asked, not meeting my eyes. I looked at him, feeling a mix of pity and triumph. Sorry, John. I don't need workers who didn't believe in me. You need to leave. John's shoulders slumped, and he walked out, leaving me with a sense of closure. Emily's clean sweep is still thriving, and I've never felt more empowered. I proved them wrong and built a successful business on my own terms. And that's the best revenge of all.